Before the sea split, before the mountain burned, before the firstborn cried out in the night, there was a people in silence and a God who wasn't finished. This is Exodus, a story of groaning under weight and a rising with wonder, a story of slavery broken, identity forged, and a presence revealed. It begins not with fire, but with oppression. For 400 years, the descendants of Jacob lived in Egypt. They grew, multiplied, and prospered, until a Pharaoh arose who didn't remember Joseph, who didn't care about the promise made. He saw their numbers and fear always finds justification. So they were pressured into labor, oppressed, beaten, and controlled. But they kept growing. So Pharaoh's fear escalated into policy. Every Hebrew boy drowned in the Nile, and yet a baby survives. A mother hides her son in a basket and sends him into the Nile. That child will challenge the gods of Egypt and lead a people out of slavery. Moses grows up in Pharaoh's palace, a child of two worlds. He's educated in the halls of Egyptian power, fluent in the culture of kings, but inside, the memory of his people never leaves. He watches their labor. He hears the whips. He sees the humiliation. One day, it breaks him. He sees an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, an axe. He kills the Egyptian, but the secret spreads. He's not seen as a hero. He's seen as a murderer. And he runs out into the wilderness. He finds refuge in Midian. He marries, has children, tends sheep. 40 years pass. He disappears from history, but not from God's sight. And one day, something unexpected catches his eye. A bush on fire, but not consumed. He approaches. A voice calls out, "Moses." It's not just fire, it's presence. God tells Moses, "I've seen the suffering of my people. I've heard their cries. I've come down to rescue them. And then I am sending you." Moses resists. Who am I? What if they don't believe me? I'm not a good speaker. But God isn't looking for polish. He's looking for obedience. I will be with you, God says. He gives him signs, a staff that becomes a snake, a hand that turns leprous and heals, water that turns to blood. He gives him Aaron to speak. And so Moses goes, not with confidence, but with calling. Sometimes destiny doesn't begin with boldness. It begins with surrender. The one who fled is about to return and shake an empire. Moses stands before Pharaoh, tired, reluctant, but obedient. And Pharaoh laughs. The people pay the price. Their work increases, their spirits crack. And Moses returns to God, broken and angry. But the response is patient and certain. I am the Lord. I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob. I made a covenant. I will fulfill it. I will bring them out. The mission isn't over. It's just beginning. God's rescue isn't reactive. It's redemptive. He doesn't just want to pull them out. He wants to shape them through wilderness, through covenant, into something new. This confrontation between Moses and Pharaoh isn't man versus man. It's creator versus counterfeit. And with every act of obedience, Moses gets stronger. He's no longer just the man with a past. He becomes the man who will part seas. This is what it looks like when God calls someone, not because they're ready, but because they're willing to follow anyway. The Nile runs red, frogs invade homes, darkness falls in the middle of the day, and a people prepare to walk between walls of water. Moses returns to Egypt and confronts Pharaoh. Let my people go. Pharaoh hardens his heart, so God answers, not with words, but with wonders. Plagues descend, one after another. Each one is a direct confrontation with Egypt's gods. The Nile, source of life, turns to blood. Frogs, sacred to fertility, become a curse. Dust gives way to gnats. Flies fill the air. Livestock falls in heaps. Boils erupt on skin. Hail pounds the fields. Locusts devour what's left. Then comes darkness, thick, suffocating, a direct strike against Ra, the sun god. Still, Pharaoh clings to power. Then the final plague. God instructs his people to prepare. take a lamb without blemish. Slaughter it. Brush its blood on the doorposts. Roast the meat, eat in haste, cloaks on, sandals strapped. Because this will be the night. At midnight, the destroyer comes, and where blood marks the home, he passes over. But in Egypt, every firstborn dies. Pharaoh breaks. Go, he says, leave us. So they go. Hundreds of thousands, caravans of former slaves led by a pillar of cloud. But Pharaoh changes his mind. He sends his army. The people panic as they reach the sea. They turn on Moses. Why did you bring us to die? And Moses says, stand still, you will see the salvation of the Lord. He lifts his staff, stretches his hand, and the sea splits. Wind blows all night. Walls of water rise up. They will walk through on dry ground. Egypt follows, and the sea crashes down. On the other side of the sea, there are no longer slaves. They're free. That night of Passover changes everything. It becomes a yearly rhythm, a feast, a memory. Every child will ask, why is this night so different? And the answer will echo, because we were slaves and now we're free. But freedom isn't easy. The moment after deliverance is filled with uncertainty. They don't know the desert. They don't know where they're going. They only know who brought them out. The pillar of cloud by day and fire by night doesn't just lead them, it teaches them to follow. When the sea splits, they walk not with strategy, but with surrender. And when the water closes behind them, it's not just Egypt they left behind. It's the version of themselves that thought they'd never be anything more than a slave. They step onto the far shore with a new story in their bones. The sea becomes their border. The song becomes the beginning. Lightning cracks, a trumpet sounds without a player, smoke cloaks a mountain, and the people prepare to meet the God who just moved into their lives. Freedom isn't just about escape, it's about what comes next. The people journey to Mount Sinai. The mountain is wrapped in cloud, thunder, and fire. A trumpet sounds louder and louder. And then God speaks. 10 commandments that will not just shape behavior, but identity. Worship only me. Don't make idols. Don't take my name in vain. Keep the Sabbath. Honor your parents. Do not murder, commit adultery, steal, lie, and do not covet. These are not rules to control. They are foundations to build a people. But God gives more. Laws for justice, how to treat the poor, how to forgive debt, how to rest, for how to reflect Him in how they live. But while Moses receives these instructions, the people grow impatient. They gather gold, melt it, form it into a calf. They throw a feast. They call it God. Moses returns with the covenant in stone and sees everything. He breaks the tablets in frustration. Judgment comes, but Moses climbs back up. He pleads, and God renews the covenant. They don't just receive commands, they're invited into a relationship. When Moses returns, his face glows, because when you dwell in glory, you don't come back the same. After Sinai, everything changes. This is no longer just about leaving Egypt. This is about becoming something holy. The laws they receive aren't random. They shape how to rest, how to forgive, how to build a culture that doesn't reflect the pyramids behind them, but the presence ahead of them. God outlines rhythms of sacrifice, of cleanliness, of justice. He defines leadership, atonement, restoration. He gives them feasts, seasons, reminders. Every part of their lives is touched by the sacred, not to control them, but to form them into reflections of Himself. And when they break it all with the golden calf, He doesn't erase the story, He renews it. Moses doesn't just receive the law. He becomes a living echo of it, marked by the presence of the one who spoke it. And through that covenant, a nation is born. The people begin building, not a city, but a tent, the tabernacle, a mobile sanctuary crafted exactly as God instructed. Golden lampstands, braided linen, an ark topped with cherubim, a space for glory. When it's finished, the cloud descends, and the glory of the Lord fills the tent. So thick, not even Moses can enter. Because God hasn't just saved them, He's moved in. Exodus doesn't end with arrival. It ends with presence. In Leviticus, we step inside that tent and learn what it means to live close to a holy God. pray for me and I for you. Keep looking up. If this hit you deeper than expected, there's more. Check the full playlist to follow the story, from Genesis to Revelation, book by book, breath by breath. Subscribe if you haven't, and share it with someone who needs to hear this story. This is a very long road, and we're just getting started.